Boy George comes to the Moulin Rouge, bringing a little culture to the club as Harold Zidler. Here's Paul Wontorek.
Thank you so much for being here, George.
Thank you.
Back on Broadway. I didn't know if I'd get to see you back on Broadway. I hoped.
I know when I was doing Taboo, I used to have this joke where when I was dressed as Lee, I used to say, everyone said I should be off Broadway. Trust me, I'm off it now. Because we had such a tumultuous, that's what, you know, it was extreme. Looking back, I probably wouldn't change any of it. You know, I feel like, yeah, I've come here to enjoy it, which is different to Taboo, because it was, you know, Taboo, we were trying to break something, which is always much harder. And, you know, I'm walking into this big slapping, screaming show that's working already.
Yeah.
So that's a nice security.
I feel like jumping into something like Moulin Rouge, the only thing I can think is it's like you're running alongside this fabulous glitter train, running alongside of it, and you have to just jump on it. I just can't imagine what it's like for you to like enter that.
I just fancied the challenge. It's probably something I wouldn't have said yes to 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but I like being in the game of what I do. You know, I feel like I find working relaxing. I find like what I do relaxing. So I'm not someone who ever wants to get through something. That's not my mission. I'm not one of these, oh, we got 4 shows in the weekend, like rolling my eyes. I might have been 20 years ago, but now I'm like, okay, well, you know, let's get ready. You know, get ready for it. And each show is the opening night in a way. For me particularly, because I'm learning a lot about what's capable, what's possible as a performer. You know, I got into the script in London before I came here on my own. I just learned as much of it as I could. So I arrived with the first half pretty much under my belt. And then there was just stuff to learn. It was more about movement and yeah, you know, you go from sort of being like, oh my God, this is really stressful. Where have I got to be? It's like, this is great. You know, 8 shows means you're going to get better at what you're doing.
What is it like when you meet people like me or the members of the company? I mean, you're Boy George, I think you know that. So you walk into a room with a lot of history, and does that just very secondhand?
I don't think I think about it a lot, you know, because I don't know, I can't really.
Yeah.
Because you can never really know what other people think of you anyway.
Right.
All you can really do is be as well behaved as you can. You know, be nice, be charming, be professional, turn up, you know, listen. That's a key thing.
Listening, yeah.
And with a role like Zidler, it's, you know, the show's written, so there's nothing to change, but you can affect the emphasis in places where, you know, and I watched Eric a lot before I went into the role. I watched him.
Eric Anderson.
Yeah, and I watched him, and I loved some of the things he did, and I sped up some stuff because of him, and, you know, it's about observing and, you know, and then trying to add who you think you are as that character into it. I've been really, really enjoying it.
Is it exhausting to be ahead of everybody, I mean, look at all the things you've been ahead of the world in so many ways. Even Taboo, speaking of Broadway, felt very ahead of its time. I feel like you were having conversations and then the world is catching up. Isn't that exhausting?
No, I think it's, I enjoy it more now. I think that as I get older, I kind of feel like there's less to explain. There's more to observe, you know, in the world. There's more things to look at if you really want to take time. And I think one of the great things about the pandemic, if there was anything great, was the reconnection to nature again. Because suddenly you were hanging out with a lot of trees. And, you know, I was out there, you know, in nature and just really sort of, you know, sitting around going, wow, man, trees are amazing. You know, there was a lot of space to do new things, and I just got back into writing in a big way. I got back into kind of trying to understand why I do what I do, not in a pretentious way, but just, you know, learning to get out of my own way creatively has been a big thing in the last few years, and just realizing that everything exists. So there's more to take. Once you realize it's all there, you don't got to search for it anymore. You haven't got to have writer's block, because writer's blocks then becomes a choice, or that you're not doing enough to encourage yourself to be creative. So, you know, I'm really fascinated with the you know, imagination, what you can do with your own mind, you know, and part of that is why I'm having such a great time on this show, because I'm tapping it out. You know, more sass, more joy, more laughter, more love. That's my mantra.
There's a lot of songs in Moulin Rouge, a lot.
Yeah.
There's a couple culture club songs
Yeah,
as well
there's
now.
Karma Chameleon, a little bit of Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, and a little bit of I'll Tumble For You.
Gotta
And it's
give
great.
them a little.
Yeah, people love it. And, you know, it wouldn't have been something I would have suggested because, you know, whatever, nostalgia. But then the show's full of everything.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And it also shows you how everything is so connected. I mean, that's the point I'm making. That's one of the interesting things about Moulin Rouge is that theatrical, what does it mean anyway? A theatrical song or a pop song, they're all the same. It's pitch and rhythm, it's words, it's melodies, it's a story. And what you start to realize is actually it's, you know, I've started to use more musical theatre type writing in my work. But, you know, I've definitely got excited about doing Taboo again. That's something I'm in discussion with at the moment. And Taboo had a really interesting life in America because it came as sort of cult musical.
Yes.
No one really knew about it, but everyone knew about it. And, you know, one of the things I really would love to do is bring it back and to, you know, kind of make it, you know, make it brighter in some places and darker in some places as well, a bit more real. But I've also got like...
You have to bring it back. I have to tell you on camera, I'm obsessed with, you don't know how often I listen, and the minute I can't look at your face without thinking, you've got it wrong, you've got it right, you've got
a lot to learn.
Like literally, this like runs through my head. I love this show, and it was so ahead of its time, and it's so beautiful, and you have to bring it back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And actually, I get so many moments in the theatre where I get these deja vu, running up the stairs thinking, oh my God, I did this before in Taboo, you know, it's not so many stairs in this show, but in, you know, these little beautiful green Cuban heels. And yeah, no, it's been good. And it's nice to be here having a very different experience with Broadway.
Yeah.
You know, this is a kind of very fulfilling experience. It's not, there's no stress. You know, it's, every time we sell out, I'm so excited, you know, because that's why we're here. We're here to create as much fuss as we can. And
So you don't miss the urinals.
No. But one of the things we
performed with
no,
urinals
but one of the
Taboo.
things we talked about, funny enough, in the new version of Taboo, we talked about having the toilet of Taboo as a kind of TARDIS. You know, with nightclubs in the 80s,
Yeah.
everyone lived in the toilet. You had sex in there, you did your makeup in there, you did naughty things in there, you phoned people, or you just gossiped. The loos were almost like a sort of, you know, they were like the central place. So it could be quite funny, and it's just a great way to transition things.
I think, in fact, if you look at what's happening on Broadway, Broadway's probably caught up to you and your energy. So I feel like you're right. I'm sure you are inspired by when you see what people want to see. And then,
yeah, and as I say, you know, there's so many great stories to tell, and you know, I'm kind of always, because I write so much, you know, I'm always writing songs. I've got several things out right now. I've got, you know, I've got a song that's #1 in Singapore and Greece. No one's ever heard of it, called Religion. I've got another song with Ariana DeBose in the English chart,
of course.
and 2 other songs in the Legacy chart. So I just keep putting stuff out.
Yeah.
I decided a few years ago that I was just going to keep making music and not necessarily always promote it. The idea of it finding its own feet, for whatever reason, is quite exciting to me because, as I say, the industry that I was in doesn't exist. So, like, let's do other things.
people will find it.
Yeah, if they want to, and if they don't. Hardcore fans know everything.
Yeah.
And then people that don't, you know, they're surprised that you're still making. But people always ask me that.
Yeah.
You still make music? I'm like, oh my God, every day.
I just want to thank you for being you. Honestly, my whole life, it's such an inspiration. And I know you hear it all the time, but I like to tell people in person. You really taught you taught the world how to be comfortable being yourself, honestly. I mean, it's true. I know you're sick of hearing it, but
No, it's not that. It's hard for me to kind of even think like that. But
yeah,
I think, I feel like, you know, I was, obviously, when I was 19, I didn't care what people thought because I was 19. And I was like, who cares what do they think?
right.
You know, what's it got to do with them, you know? And then, of course, you get famous, and that adds another layer of anxiety to who you are, or it adds another narrative that people will latch onto, and then, you know, you have your car crashes, and then you have your triumphs. But Bowie said that when you get older, you become the person you're meant to be. So if you're a nasty piece of work, you're only going to get worse, aren't you? You know. And I think if you're nice, you go back to kind of, I think you find your sense of humor.